In this video on poured in place concrete, we are going to again start a new project. We're going to add datum elements such as levels and grids. We're going to add concrete columns that establish the base of the concrete structure. We're going to create the foundation elements of the building, including the walls, wall foundations, and footings under the columns. And then we're going to add the beams and the beam systems to complete the structural framework and add floors. That sounds like a lot, but in Revit, it makes it very easy and fast. We're going to begin by selecting new, and again, we want to select the structural template, as it typically has the structural elements in it that we need. The first thing we want to do is we want to go in and establish our elevation marks and our levels. So it doesn't matter which elevation that you go in to do this. I typically pick my north or my south because they're typically the longer elevations. So I'm going to pick that, and I currently have a level 1 and a level 2. Beyond level 1 and 2, what I want to have is a level 3, a roof level, and a top of footing. If you recall, a footing is what the structure sets on. So to create a new level, I want to zoom out to where I can see everything. And if I go right here under my architecture tab, datum, level, and I'm just going to start going up. And again, I'm not going to worry about the heights right now. I'm just going to place those, and I want to make sure that I get everything to align. And there I've placed my third level, which it went ahead and actually did that automatically. And then my fourth level, which is actually going to be my roof. So now I'm going to zoom in, and my level 2, I want to be at 10 feet, which it is. My level 3, I want it to be at 20 feet. To make that 20 feet, I just click on that number, and you see that it moved. This one, I'm going to first change the name. I'm going to change it to roof. Now when I do this, it's going to ask me, do I want to rename corresponding views? And I do. So I'm going to say yes. And I want to set that height to 30 feet. The only other level that I need is my top of footing, and that is going to be below my level 1. So again, I'm going to go to architecture, and I'm going to go to level, and again, I'm just going to come down here and place it. I want to make sure it aligns on both ends, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to change this to be T period O period footing. This is common representation for top of footing. And again, it asks me if I want to rename the corresponding views, and I do. And I'm going to change this to be negative 10 feet. So now I have all of my levels set up. If I go and look in my south elevation, I should have those same levels. If I go in my east elevation, I should have those same levels. If I go in my west elevation, again, I should have those same levels. Next, I'm going to go back to my plan, my level 1 plan, and I'm going to set up some structural grids. I'm going to set up vertically across here, grids 1 through 7, and horizontally, I'm going to have grids A through F. So right now, I'm just going to place them. The maximum spacing that I'm going to have on my vertical grids is about 18 feet. So again, if I come over here to grid, and I can pick and at the bottom and go up, and again, I'm just going to come over and create another grid, and I'm not going to worry about the distance. I'm not a proponent of copying grid lines because sometimes they don't do what you want them to do. So I always create my grid lines individually. And you'll notice as I'm creating them, it is putting them in numerical order, which is what I want. And then horizontally, I'm going to go to A. It won't know that, so I will need to go in and change this. And then once I change it to A, it will know to continue with B, C, D, E, etc. So I'm going to come over here and create down to F. And I am crossing my elevation mark. That's okay. I can move those once I get these created. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and A, B, C, D, E, F. The first spacing I want from 1 to 2 is 8 feet. So if I click on my grid line 2 and I come down here and I change this to 8 feet, I now have that. If I click on grid line 3, I want the spacing there to be 17 feet 3 inches. And if I click on grid line 4, I want it to be 17 feet. If I click on grid line 5, I want it to be 17 feet. If I click on grid line 6, I want it to be 17 feet 3. And then if I click on grid line 7, I want it to be 8 feet. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these grid lines, and you see it gives me the alignment line, and I'm going to pull this back because I don't want these sticking way out here. I'm okay with my elevation mark that direction. This way I'm going to go from A to B, and I want it to be 17 feet 6 inches. And then from B to C, and I have to pick the one that I want to move. I want it to be 24 feet. And then from C to D, I want it to be 26 feet. And then from D to E, I want it to be 24 feet. And then from E to F, I want it to be 17 feet 6 inches. Now I have all of those. Now I have some grid lines here that do not line up, so that's the very first thing I'm going to do. Now I have them all lined up, and I do want to pull these all out just a little bit farther. We like to have a pretty consistent overlap of these, so I have about that distance here, so I want about that distance here. I'm going to select all these. If I use my arrow keys, I can get this more centered inside of my elevation marks. There, that looks a little bit better. Now, what I always like to do at this point is I like to come in and put in my dimension lines. That way I can make sure that I have everything exactly as I think I should before I get started. So if I click on annotate and I pick a line, I can kind of zoom in here a little bit, and I'm going to start with my dimensions this way. And I can pick that one and place that one. So I want to go back and check these. I wanted 8 feet, I wanted 17.3, I wanted 17, I wanted 17, I wanted 17.3, and I wanted 8 feet. So that is all good. So now I'm going to do the same thing in this direction. And I'm going to start here with my A to B. And again, I'm going to check these, and I wanted 17.6 here, I wanted 24 here, I wanted 26 here, I wanted 24 here, and I wanted 17.6 here. Now something I should have done probably earlier is I need to save this drawing. So I'm going to save it, and in the directions, you need to save yours into your OneDrive, and you need to create a folder called, you can call it PIP Concrete, or you can call it Poured in Place Concrete. And then in the folder, you need to save it as PIP Concrete Structure. And before you hit save, go over here to Options, and change this to be 5. Yours probably says 20. We do not need 20 backups because in Revit, a Revit backup is a full file just like your regular file. So if you have 20 backup files, that's like having 20 full-size files in there. Typically, you never need more than 5. So you can say okay, and then hit save. Now we are going to add columns to our drawing. So again, we're going to go to structure and we're going to go to column. We're going to go to our concrete columns. And we want to actually use a 24 by 24 column. We do not have that in here. Again, we could select the 18 by 24, the 24 by 30, doesn't matter which. And we can go in here to edit type. And we're going to do duplicate. And the first thing I want to do is I want to change this to be 24 by 24. And I'm going to say okay. So then I have to come in here and I have to change these dimensions to both be 24. So now I have done that. And I can say okay. And now I have my 24 by 24 inch column. I could do at grids, which might be the fast way to do this, but I don't want to do that in every location. First thing I'm going to do is I want to place a column right here at 4A. On the center point. And then I want to place one at 1B, which is right here. And then I want to place one at 3B, which is right here. And then I want to place one at 5B. And then I want to place one at 7B. Then I want to place one at 1C and 2C. And 3C. I don't want one in the middle this time, and I want to go to 5C, 6C, and 7C. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to do 1D, 2D, 3D, and just like the ones above. Then I'm going to come back down on E and I'm going to do 1, and I'm going to do 3, and I'm going to do 5, and I'm going to do 7, and then I'm just going to have the center one on F. So now if I go and I look at my 3D view, I have my columns. The next thing I want to do is I want to set these columns to be the correct height, top and bottom. So if I click on those and I go to filter, I can take everything out but my structural columns, and I can say okay. And now I can set my base level to be top of footing, and I can set my top level to be roof, and I can say apply. Now, if we were doing this as a full structural model, I would have put my rebar into these columns prior to doing that. But we're not going to do that in this part of the project since we've already done that. Right now we're just learning how to actually set up a complete structural drawing out of concrete. The next thing I want to do is the top and the bottom column. I want to rotate them 45 degrees. I'm going to pick this one and I'm going to do rotate, and it already picked the center, which is good. So all I got to do is rotate this 45. And then I'm going to do the same down here. So now I have rotated those columns. The next part of the project, we are going to create the foundation elements. We are going to have a footing and we are going to have foundation walls. So we are going to create the foundation wall first. So again, we're going to go to structure, and we want to pick wall, and again we want structural wall, and we want to come down here and we want to find the foundation 12-inch concrete. We want the base constraint to be at level 1. We want the base offset to be at -10, and we want the top constraint to be up to level 1 with a 0 top offset. And we're going to hit apply. Now we are ready to start drawing. We just need to determine where we want to draw from. So I'm going to start over here. I do not want to draw from wall center line. I want to draw from finished face exterior because I want my wall that I'm putting in to line up with the outside of my columns. So I'm going to pick my wall from here to here. Then I'm going to pick another wall from here to here. And then I'm going to pick another wall from here to here. And then I'm going to pick another wall. And another wall. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Now I'm going to draw this wall from here to here, but it's going to be easier because of the way I have my wall set to do this one, and I want to keep it at 135 degrees because I want it to maintain the 45-degree angle, and I'm going to pick there. Now I can just take this and use my mirror, pick that grid line, and place the other wall. I can basically do this with my other walls. I can hold down my control key, and I can do mirror, and again I can pick this central line and I can place them over there. Then all I have to do is finish this last wall. I want to draw this one starting at this point, and again keep it at a 45 and place it. And then again, I'm just going to mirror it by using my center point. So if we go and we look at this, we do a 3D view, you see we've created our foundation wall. If I change this to a shaded, it's a little bit easier to see. So now we have basically a foundation wall around the perimeter. The next thing we need to do is we need to add the footing to this foundation wall. So I'm going to go back to my top of footing plan. And I'm going to go under my structure tab and I'm going to go to isolated. And I want to have a 72 by 72 by 18 inch footing. And if I look here, I don't have that. So again, I can just take one of these. I can do edit type. I can duplicate, and I'm going to change this to 72 and get rid of the 2 off the end and say OK. And this 4-foot dimension, I want to change to be 6 feet, and I'm going to say OK. So now, as you can see, I have my square footing. These are going to be added under my columns. So if I pick each of my columns, and even my angular one, I'm going to place it square. I'm not going to angle the footing. So now I have added my footings under my columns, as you can see. So the rest of this also needs a footing underneath it. I'm going to go to wall foundation, and this time I want a bearing footing of 36 by 18. So if I look, I don't have that, so again I've got to make one. So I'm going to do edit type, and I'm going to do duplicate, and I'm going to make this 18 inches. And here I need to change this to 1'6", and I'm going to say OK. And now I just need to pick all of my walls, and you see it connects these footings to the footings at my columns. If we go and look at this now in 3D, you see we have a continuous footing underneath our walls. You can see how quickly we have drawn this versus how long it would have took us in AutoCAD. Again, I want to hit save at this point. So I'm going to conclude this video at this point, and the next video we will get into the framing for the concrete structure.